Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Culturally Speaking. As always, I am your host, Yuvan Gupta. Unfortunately, today I am by myself, as my co-host Mukesh is currently busy. And today I want to talk about digital transformation. Digital transformation has become one of the most widely discussed, priorities in modern business. Organizations of all sizes across industries, finance, healthcare, manufacturing, education, tech, logistics, manufacturing, FMCG, everyone is investing quite heavily in new technologies to streamline workflows, enhance customer experiences, and maintain a competitive edge in our rapidly evolving markets. And there's no better example than the proliferation of AI in this, right? But despite this sort of urgency and the vast amount of money and resources and time and people poured into these initiatives, only 70%, so over 70%, kind of fail and don't reach intended outcomes. And that's because not because the technologies are inadequate or the technologies are sort of ill suited to the tasks. I think that the technologies are developing at a very rapid pace, and clearly, given the valuations, they are working and they work, and people do need them and they do use them. But it's a reminder that every transformation, even if it's a digital transformation, is rooted in culture, right? So you can migrate to a new software, you can migrate to a new business platform, you can migrate to a new technology platform, but that doesn't matter if the people who are going to use that technology or service don't like it or aren't used to it, right? So it's a cultural endeavor, right? So beneath each new system that the transformation brings, there's a complex web of behaviors, values, fears, cultural patterns, and norms that needs to be understood for change to really occur. Every organization in of itself operates as this dynamic social ecosystem which is shaped by the people who bring it to life. Employees form relationships with each other, with their bosses, with their coworkers, with their juniors, with people outside of the organization, your clients, your stakeholders, your business partners, etc. And in forming these relationships, they also develop routines and craft unwritten social rules and norms, and they participate in informal networks of uh, that holds so much influence, more so than formal organizational charts might hold themselves, and that's why when a digital transformation project sort of introduces a new platform or system or a workflow, it does people are often resistant to it because it's now challenging these pre-existing really strong social norms and social relationships that people have built. They want to work with each other. Now that if you put a digital or a software layer between them, they sort of don't appreciate that as much, right? So let's consider an example. Now let's consider the rollout of a new collaboration or workflow management tool. On paper, it promises transparency, efficiency, real-time communication, and all that stuff. But in practice, it may actually challenge long-standing power dynamics and actually slow down processes, because certain individuals with super specialized, tacit knowledge aren't able to sort of apply that as well to the situation to reach conclusions faster and at the speed at which they were, right? So a manager who once relied on information control to maintain authority may find that, hey, my employees and the people working in my team don't have to listen to me as much, and that may make him uncomfortable. That may make him combative and abrasive, right? While others now may feel overwhelmed with the amount of information they're getting. It used to be that they used to have access to very little information or very just purely relevant information for their tasks, but now they're getting information about everything in the business. They have all these KPIs and all these data points that they at their disposal that it becomes too much. And these are emotional responses, which are not technical hurdles, and they need to be responded to and sort of dealt with in more human terms. And this is where I feel that traditional success metrics fall short. Stuff like adoption rates, time saved, cost redundancies are important, but they don't really understand and capture the lived experience of people who need to adapt to these new systems of thinking and working. To like completely understand the impact of a transformation and the requirements of a transformation to be successful, leaders need to sort of take the quantitative insights and sort of combine them and supplement them with qualitative human-centered insights, and this could be through methods borrowed from anthropology, from sociology, from systems thinking, from network thinking, right? So you need to understand that you need to figure out how employees work and how the technology can help them in their work, and not from a top-down approach, but also from a bottom-up approach, right? This can be done through creating safe spaces for listening sessions, for storytelling circles, for shadowing employee work, right? To really understand what's bubbling beneath the surface, what's required from their perspective for them to do their job better. And then once you help them do their job better, overall your efficiency and your success and uh, increases across the board, right? And these approaches sort of uncover hidden frustrations as well as pre-existing strengths within an organization, and this allows you to iterate on your transformation goals and uh, frameworks in order to have a more successful transformation. An example of this approach comes from the National Australia Bank, right? Instead of treating transformation as this top-down technological overhaul, they recognize that actual progress needs the voices and experiences of the frontline employees. And leadership explicitly sought these stories. They got their observations, feedbacks, and they kept iterating throughout the transformation process. And storytelling became a really key practice within it. They should celebrate the small wins, and if something didn't work out or something failed, there's no blame to it. It just didn't work out. You quickly move on to the next item and the next iteration, the next suggestion, the next feedback. And in doing so, they fostered the sense of ownership and collective agency within the employees, and they wanted the transformation to succeed. And when employees want a transformation to succeed, it generally ends up succeeding, right? Because then it creates a sort of cultural intelligence inside of the organization that helps with adoption and also creates a more resilient workforce. In conclusion, technology needs to enable people to do their jobs better at a better efficiency. It shouldn't pressure them to conform to very rigid systems which actually slow down efficiency, slow down business processes, right? So what I find is when leaders prioritize empathy, curiosity, and thoughtful engagement with their employees and these new digital solutions, that is truly when proper, successful, well thought out digital transformations can occur. They create workplaces where you're hitting your business targets as well as creating an environment where people actually want to come in and work, which also boosts your productivity, right? So I would just like to end with this statement, which is that by valuing human insight as much as technical expertise and quantitative insights, leaders can pave the way for a transformation that is not only successful in the short term, but also sustainable over a longer term, which enhances both organizational performance and the daily experiences of the people who drive it.